All right. Here we go, back again on the other side of the coin.
Hey, welcome back to the other side of the coin, everyone. I'm sure, to the people that are going to be here during this stream, also to the people that are going to be here down the track during this stream and who are going to watch it after the stream as well. Always appreciate your support and the time you give to this channel. So do appreciate that. I've got a very, very special guest. I've actually been watching this particular person's videos for the past month or so. I just bumped into it as a recommendation on YouTube, and since then I've been hooked. I believe he's a Benfica fan from heart, but he does videos about almost every club out there. Whatever is topical, he's doing videos out there. Absolute intellect. If you haven't subscribed, I mean, I doubt you haven't. He's got about 92K subscribers. I'm pretty sure you guys all would have subscribed. But if you haven't subscribed, please look at the description right now and subscribe. But first of all, my man Adrian, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Thank you for the stunning introduction, by the way, making me feel very comfortable, very at home, very welcome here. That's it's very kind of you, man. I appreciate it.
Nah, man. Look, I must say, I mean, it's very difficult to hook people onto a particular channel. I know it. Like there may be times where they may like one or two videos here and there, and then they sort of drift away. But yours, because it's so, you talk about almost everything. You don't just talk about, like you're a Benfica fan, right? You don't just talk about Benfica. Your recent one was about Lukaku. There was one about Arsenal not that long ago. And you talk about almost everything, which is fantastic. And you go into so much detail. I mean, how do you find the time to go through all of this? Like, I find it difficult just to keep up with Chelsea. How do you find the time to do all of that?
Well, it's nice to hear that my master plan of casting a wide net to snag everyone's falling for it. So thank you. It's good to hear that. No, this is basically what I do for a living now. So I do have that added time to go into detail on as much as I can. And I'm just so curious by nature, I guess, so that I can look into many teams. I just think that football is basically a big drama. It's basically a big television show, in a sense, that there's all these different characters at play. There's all these different storylines that are constantly happening, and the fabric of it all connects together, whether it's a team in one league or another. So I'm always looking for those links to each other, and it's just fascinating. Not only is it entertaining, but it's just fascinating.
So true, man. I wish I could do one day this whole thing as a full-time basis, but I've got a family to feed. I've got a wife and a son to feed. So, priorities, man. I got to pay the bills. So, but yeah, I do hope one day that, man, it must be so amazing to just talk football and research football. As you said, it's dramas everywhere. But my man, let's get the ball rolling. I wanted to get you in because, as I said, I feel like your footballing knowledge and the intellect that you are, it'd be good to know someone away from the fan base, how they are seeing some certain things at Chelsea. I know you don't follow Chelsea completely, but you do keep in touch with the Premier League, and more or less the gist of it, what's going on in Chelsea Football Club or whichever football club. So I want to talk to you about a few things. I want to talk to you about Hakim Ziyech. I've held off talking about Hakim Ziyech in my channel. Ziyech is one of my favorite players. I just recently got his jersey as well. And I've been so emotional about this particular player since we've announced him, since we signed him. There was that whole video about him, how Ajax made for him, and he went and his mother gave him a nice sort of speech about him, and he broke down in tears. Since that day, I've just been emotionally attached with Hakim Ziyech, because I felt like when you've got that much respect and that much feel for your mum, you're capable of anything in the world. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're doing it for your family. So, yeah, I want to talk to you about Hakim Ziyech, Kai Havertz, and obviously look into the Liverpool game as well, and Donnarumma just a little bit. But let's start with Hakim Ziyech. Adrian, how much did you follow Hakim back in the Ajax days, and what's your initial thoughts about him as a player?
So I didn't follow too much Eredivisie I don't catch it very often besides the big games, when, PSV or Ajax are playing against each other or Feyenoord or what have you. But every time, I think we all sort of fell in love a bit with that Ajax team from the 18-19 season. Everyone was just swept away by that young, attacking, entertaining team. As soon as they knocked out Real Madrid, I think everyone was watching them and keeping an eye on them and all of the stars that were constantly linked with all these other big clubs. Watching. Oh yeah, absolutely. I think deep down, all of us were sort of rooting for them a little bit. And so that's sort of when I started to really become more aware, because he was always a name that came up, but I hadn't really followed him as closely as I would have liked. Now, I think that when he was announced to go to Chelsea, I was a little bit surprised. Simply because it sort of felt like it came out of nowhere. It was one of those signings that Chelsea sort of became good at. Same with the Pulisic signing. And I could be wrong because, like you said, I don't follow Chelsea week in, week out. So these things, to me at least, sort of came out of nowhere.
It actually did. For Chelsea fan base as well, it was out of nowhere. Even though later on they sort of said that they did monitor someone like Ziyech for a while. But for us, it was out of nowhere as well.
So, yeah, exactly. And what a pleasant surprise. Now, of course, it hasn't maybe gone as you would have hoped, because he came here with an injury. And then it's been a bit of an adjusting process with the new manager and everything. There's been some turmoil, let's say. Mm-hmm. So it's been tough for him to adapt. But I think those initial qualities, or those qualities that he seems to have, that, he was sort of referred to as a magician at Ajax, and that he could pull a rabbit out of his hat, and he has that wand of a left foot. And he's just one of those players that is a joy to watch. It's not all blistering pace, but it's skill, it's finesse, it's curling balls to the back post or into the back of the net from that right channel on that right flank. And so I do think that he's still going to be an absolute hit. And it's funny because when you first contacted me to talk about him, this was prior to the match of the weekend, when he still wasn't getting much playing time under Tuchel. And I think that, maybe Tuchel's looking ahead to the Atletico Madrid second leg, in which I believe Mason Mount's going to be out, correct?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
And so maybe he's thinking, okay, now is that time to sort of shift him in there and play him sort of tucked in, because you guys are playing sort of like a 3-4-2-1 type of formation. And maybe sort of tuck him in there because, as you know, and I'm sure a ton of your subscribers know, he was primarily played on the right at Ajax, but he could also feature inside as well. They played sort of a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1, depending on how you want to look at it. And he would constantly drift in towards that central right channel, have people overlapping on the right. So it seems like the perfect sort of fit in the system that Tuchel is trying to instill now, with Hudson-Odoi overlapping down the right flank, Ziyech having the freedom to drift wide, but also cut inside. So I think that this is sort of a turning point for him. I hope that it's a turning point for him because he's such a joy to watch. And for me, and we'll talk about Havertz later, but it just seems that there's a wealth of options and there's only two spots in order to fill. And you have Mount, you have Werner, you have Ziyech, you have Pulisic, you have all of these different options that it's like, who do you go with, right?
Yeah. No, I absolutely agreed, man. You're so right. It was that 18-19 Champions League season where everyone got on board with the whole Ajax thing. I definitely watched a lot more. I always knew about Hakim Ziyech, but I think that was the season where he sort of came into the radar from everyone. And not just him. So many of his Ajax mates ended up going to different clubs as well, De Ligt to Juventus and so on and so forth. But yeah, you're right. When we look at Ziyech's game, you could see in that Ajax team, it was from the right, drifting in, sometimes staying very much on the touchline on the right, and then whipping those inverted crosses that he's so well known to do, and finding players like, Quincy Promes and also Tagliafico on the left side. Let's look at now the Chelsea era, right? So he's come to Chelsea. Let's look at the Frank Lampard times, because I feel like this is where I have a bit of an issue with Thomas Tuchel. Not really an issue. He's doing what he has to do at the time being, but I think Frank Lampard, I know I've been very critical about Frank Lampard during his tenure, and obviously the time when he got sacked. But the one thing I think Frank did right was utilize Ziyech properly, I feel like. When we were playing the 4-3-3 with the lone DM attacking eights, one of the wingers would be Ziyech. And obviously, as you said, Ziyech initially had that injury, so it took time to come into our team. But as soon as he did come in, I think it was the Champions League against Krasnodar, albeit it was Krasnodar, but he played really well on that particular match. Ended up getting man of the match, I think. Yeah, got an assist, got a goal. And then he had a bit of a run. He played against Newcastle, Burnley, Sheffield United. Once again, teams lower in the table, but still you got to put them away. But the key part there, Adrian, was that he played very much on the right, and Frank allowed him the width all the way on the right side and allowed him to drift in, as you said, more in the central areas, and basically, dictate the play a little bit. He could drop deep. However, with Thomas Tuchel now, with the three at the back and the wing backs, you've said that Callum can overlap. But what's happening, Adrian, one of the big issues is he's having to tuck in. Like, his starting position is as an inside forward. It's not really hugging the touchlines because Callum is hugging the touchlines. So he's having to tuck in, where when he receives the ball, he gets pressed straight away. And he doesn't have that freedom to sort of look up and do stuff. So do you feel that's added to this whole issue of our current setup is not suited to his playing style completely?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think that it's, when he was playing at Ajax and on the few occasions, because typically he would mostly, I believe, play down the right at Ajax, but sometimes he would fill in a more central role. But it almost seems like it gets a little too crowded for him. And perhaps the pressing of the Premier League, I can't speak too much about the pressing in the Eredivisie, but perhaps the pressing of the Premier League coupled with, it's more compact where he is because he has the striker right in front of him. And then he has either Mount or whoever it is also tucked in behind the striker next to him as well. Hudson-Odoi pushing in from the flank. So it's a little bit, he might get a little bit lost, a little bit overrun more easily in the more central roles where, like you said, he definitely needs, while he's not exactly the pacey winger that's going to just burn up and down the touchline strictly, he does like to come in as a sort of an inverted winger. I think that he still needs a little bit more room in order to thrive. And he, we just said, he doesn't really have the pace to play in that wingback role. So the shape that Tuchel is pushing forward with, which has been successful, of course, so you can't fault him for continuing with it. It's not an ideal one for Ziyech in that it doesn't play to his strengths.
No, I have to agree, because you look at the game. I'm not sure if you've watched our recent game against Man United. He played almost the full match, I believe up to 70th minute or so. But my God, he was not good. He was getting bullied off the ball. He was getting bundled over. I must admit, Man United pressed so well. I didn't expect them to play with a high line and press so hard. But because of our wing-back situation and him sort of being more inside forward and not being able to be in the wings, it's just like people say that he's got the ability to press, but even his pressing didn't look like coordinated. I mean, Adrian, I guess the question that I want to ask you is, in this Thomas Tuchel sort of formation, does he, do us as fan base, do we need to stay patient and allow Thomas Tuchel to find the solution for him? As you said, he can't play as a wing back, whether it be a right wing back or left wing back. He just doesn't have that blistering pace. He's quick. He's not blistering pace. Like, he doesn't have that amazing burst of pace or anything like that. He's more trickery with the ball, the vision, the passing, the finesse, as you said. Us as fan base, how do you picture Thomas Tuchel fitting this particular player in this current formation? Or do we just need to be patient for next season until Thomas Tuchel sort of changes things up a little bit?
I think that you bring up a good question, because it seems like Tuchel is sort of playing a bit of a balancing act of not allowing results to go awry from the beginning of his tenure versus, sort of bleeding in those guys that are newer to the squad. Because I remember, maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, people would say, give him a season to adjust. And now I feel like all of our patience has worn so far thin that we expect players to be good within 4 months, 6 months, something like that. So I think that is a bit of a myth.
Just to interject as well, Adrian, I think the Chelsea fan base, they keep saying that he's in his prime because he's 27, 28. So that's the other factor that they're like, now you don't get a full season. You need to kick on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the goalposts have moved for you. But no, I think that, like I was saying, Tuchel is playing a bit of a balancing act in that he's found a system that is working, that is getting results for him. And so he's moved sort of towards some trusted Chelsea men. He brought Alonso back, Rudiger's back in there, Giroud is starting, etc., etc., etc. And in getting that, I think that he's going to slowly start rotating the newer guys in, like Werner and Havertz, and Ziyech just got an opportunity. But right now, he needs to sort of instill or stamp his authority and his vision for this Chelsea squad. Yeah. And I actually have a question for you. Do you think that the 3-5-2 will be what he goes with next season? Or do you think that this is just the temporary thing because, it's never ideal for a manager to come in mid-season? And so he's just going with it because it is getting those results and he's working on getting that defensive solidity. And then he'll sort of focus on the offense later and that balancing.
Look, you know what? This has been a big question across the entire fan base because as much as the 3-2, whatever it is, 3-1 or whatever the shape, basically 5 in defense, 5 in offense, 3 at the back with the 2 double sixes and then 5 with the wing backs. It's been a massive, massive talking point in the fan base that as much as it's working now, and it's exactly what you said, Adrian, that he's come in, and he said it in his interview a few times, that I came in, I saw the characteristics of the players, and I decided that the 3 at the back with the wing backs is what is good for the time being, because he didn't want to, it's very difficult to come in and just change everything, right? He can't just instill a philosophy within a month. He's been here for about 5 weeks, I'd say. So the first thing he saw was that's the thing that he wanted. And he also wanted to instill Azpilicueta back into the team. So in order to do that, he realized obviously Aspi doesn't have the legs anymore to be a right back to bomb up and down, but he can play someone, in the right centre back position. He's always favoured Rudiger. There was rumours that he wanted Rudiger in PSG as well. And obviously, he played with Thiago Silva back in PSG. He was his captain. So he looked at it and he was like, I'm going to go with 3 at the back and the wing back situation, double sixes. However, Adrian, I can't see him continuing with this next season. Next season, we need to sacrifice a defender so we can put them in the midfield or in the forward section, because right now I feel like, yes, the structure is good and it's working fine, but it's hurting players like Ziyech, Havertz, Pulisic, even the likes of Chilwell and Reece James, Adrian. I don't think these two were touted as one of the best fullbacks in the league, who are not getting game time at all at the moment because of Alonso and Callum Hudson-Odoi. And Callum, as much as of a revolution it's been on the right wing-back spot, I don't think that's his, he should be playing more as a winger or maybe an inside forward or on the left side. So, yeah, to answer your question, I hope he changes it up. I really do hope he changes it up. And that's why there's rumors that we are possibly going for a defender next season, a very, very experienced defender to complement someone like Thiago Silva, because the caliber of defenders that we probably have right now, they always have that one lapse of concentration. They're good. Zuma, Rudiger, Christensen, they're good, but I think they're good in a back 3. Zuma probably better in a back 4, but now he's not even getting any game time. So, yeah, that's a little bit that I hope that, and this is where I'll say that I hope that someone like Ziyech, and there's been rumors recently that, he's not happy. I don't know how much of these rumors are true, but apparently there are a few people are saying that he's not happy. He's looking to go out because of the formation and whatnot. Just to wrap up the whole Ziyech situation from as I said, for someone who's away from the Chelsea fan base, do you feel Ziyech should just give it a bit more time? I mean, see this out, that 3 at the back is not going to be forever. I believe he signed a 5-year contract with us, and I can't see how he goes on and finds a better opportunity. I think the London opportunity and Chelsea opportunity is probably the best opportunity for him at the time. What's your thoughts about him possibly leaving, if it is true?
I think that that's absolutely premature, because he came in, like we had already covered, he came in injured. He came in during a very strange season overall that I think people sort of discount a bit, how strange the season has been with COVID and everything like that. And I mean, he got an opportunity in this I'm just going to call it 3-5-2. I know it's not really a 3-5-2. Let's just call it a 3-5-2 just for simplicity's sake. Yeah. So he got an opportunity there, and he's an intelligent player. We've seen that. I'm sure that he can adapt to it. I'm sure that he can be of value in that position, because it's not far from where he was playing at Ajax. Yeah. So I think that he's going to recognize that, an opportunity will come. And this was his first time playing in that sort of, system or formation for Chelsea under Tuchel. It's a new manager. It's a manager who's trying to establish himself both in the dressing room and results-wise and amongst the fan base. So I think it would be absolutely premature if he was to leave so early already. And I'm a big proponent of giving people time. I really am. I'm maybe the most patient football fan you'll find. I'm always very much like, hey, as long as we're working towards something, there's always next season. We don't need immediate results if we can build towards something better. And so I think that Ziyech needs to, I hope that he does sort of take, because it would be such a shame for him to come to this league, and everyone was so excited to see him playing on the regular because he was such a special player at Ajax. And for him to leave so soon after a strange injury sort of riddled season would be a massive shame.
No, 100%. I absolutely understand when you say you're patient. You're a Benfica fan, man. I can't imagine how patient you have to be. And I've seen some of your Benfica videos. Oh, my days. I'd be pulling my hair out, but you stay patient. But you're right, my man. Ziyech, as I said, this guy's, I'm emotionally attached to him. So I'm a bit biased, right, when I talk about Ziyech. He's got so much in his locker, the trickeries that he has with his left foot. As you said, he's a magician, Ajax, I remember hearing some of the Ajax fans say that they've been watching Ajax that he struggled in the first season over there as well. So, they lost hope in him after the first season, but he came storming back. So the thing I really like about Ziyech is his attitude, how cocky he is at times, like how he openly says, just recently, I think throughout his bad form, he was sort of saying, you haven't seen the real Hakim Ziyech yet. You will, though. You will see it. So I love that about him, that this man has so much self-confidence that it's got to turn around for him. And I hope, as you said, he just stays patient with Thomas Tuchel. Thomas Tuchel has come in. He needed to do a job. He's got to get to that top four. Do or die, he's got to make it there. So someone like Hakim Ziyech just needs to stay patient. Let's now talk about Kai Havertz, another player who's in the similar sort of boat, in that limbo of getting some game time, not getting some game time, injuries, the disease as well in the pandemic. The fan base is torn, Adrian, with Kai Havertz. Some really rate him, some don't even rate him. How much Kai Havertz did you watch back in Leverkusen?
I wouldn't say I'm a Kai Havertz expert, but I certainly watched enough of him that I could, I had a decent understanding of where his strengths would lie and how he was best played. I could say that, but I'm by no means a Kai Havertz aficionado or anything like that.
No, absolutely. Look, I was one of those ones who didn't, follow Kai Havertz massively back in his Leverkusen days. Obviously, when the rumours started becoming huge, we all started following his game. And he definitely looked like a very, very good player in Leverkusen. Some of the he was the main man for Leverkusen over there, and scored a bundle of goals and assists. And here's the thing: I hate when people start deeming players as generational talent, because it just puts up so much pressure on them. And then we ended up buying Havertz, for Chelsea. The first thing that I want to say is, we bought Havertz, and I feel like not much of a thought process was put into getting someone like Havertz, because you have players like Timo Werner that you've got in, Hakim Ziyech that you've got in, Mason Mount was doing really well as well. From your perspective and looking at the Chelsea team, Frank, there's been some, post his sacking, there's been some talks that Kai Havertz wasn't really his particular signing. He definitely wanted Ziyech, he definitely wanted Chilwell, but everyone else wasn't really his signing. It was the club sort of signing, and he sort of got on board with it. But Kai Havertz was probably not one of his signings. When you look at our team, and as good as Kai Havertz is, do you feel like that was really a transfer that we needed to make, or do you feel like that's more of a luxury transfer that happened there?
I mean, in hindsight, it certainly looks like one that didn't need to be made. But at the time, it's understandable how you would sort of get caught up in that because, I mean, as you know, football's moving towards this thing where players like that are almost like an asset. You know, these generational talents that you can buy and bring in, and it's a gamble in a sense because, look, I was a big fan of him at Leverkusen from the few video clips that I saw of him, from the few matches of Bayer Leverkusen that I watched of his. I'm not the biggest Peter Bosch fan, so I try to avoid watching Leverkusen as much as I can. But I found that his adaptability from going from sort of a winger to a central false nine / sometimes he was played as a striker when Kevin Volland was injured.
Yeah.
And him and his ability to sort of play as that false nine or as like a central attacking midfielder and arrive late into the box. Yeah. I got caught up in the sort of, this is someone who could mimic a Lampard-esque style of play. Yeah. Lampard, the player, of course. And so at the time, it made total sense to me. He just came off of a great season of scoring a ton of goals. He looked like a player that was better than Mason Mount and could play that job better than Mason Mount could. And I think that needs to be highlighted as well, is how far Mason Mount has come in this season alone, in my opinion. Unbelievable. Yeah. Exactly. And so you couple that with the fact that, Kai Havertz is adapting to the league. He's a young guy. He had the coronavirus, which definitely has taken a toll on certain players. We saw Paul Pogba come back from it and not really be the same. Mind you, Paul Pogba, totally different story. Paulo Dybala at Juventus, he had it bad and he never was really the same after that. At Benfica, sorry to bring it back to Benfica again, but we've had a ton of players that have had it.
You guys had a ton, yeah.
Yeah, almost our entire squad was hit with it at various points throughout the season. And a lot of the players haven't really come back and been the same. So I think that does add, all of these sort of factors does add to Havertz not really settling in well. Now, to answer your initial question of did he need to be signed, looking at the guys that you had there already, I mean, probably not. Assuming that all those guys are staying healthy, Mount, Werner, Pulisic, what have you, Ziyech, you probably didn't need Havertz on top of that. But I can understand. And don't forget,
Adrian, we also let go of Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Ross Barkley on loan. So, yeah, just to add to that whole mix.
Yeah, it's absolutely an imbalance of the sort of, where you have a lot of your talent focused on the pitch is sort of that area of the pitch. So I guess with hindsight, to answer your question, no, he wasn't necessarily a signing that you needed, but I can see why he was attractive to Marina or whoever it was that made the call on that signing.
Yeah, no, as you said, I think the very key point that you made was sometimes football is a bit of a gamble. And maybe the club took a gamble that this guy could just turn out to be the generational talent that everyone's saying, and that would be phenomenal for a football club like Chelsea. Now, once again, we do need to highlight the fact that Mason Mount, how much he's developed. He's keeping the players like Ziyech and Havertz out of this squad because of his development. So there's a massive shout out for Mason Mount on that. But that's for a different episode altogether. But Havertz in this Tuchel formation, I personally think that he could either play, as you said, the false nine, like the striker up front, or maybe a Timo Werner or Mason Mount sort of position. But I think Tuchel likes having Mount and Werner behind a striker because of their energy and their pace and Mount's pressing game, Werner's pace. Do you feel Kai Havertz, does he take one of those 10s or does he take that false nine position? Personally, I think it'd be the false nine where he can drop deep in midfield, link up, and then arrive into the box as well. What's your thoughts?
I think that it's definitely worth testing that out. I would love to see Havertz playing in the Giroud position for now, dropping deep, as you said, playing passes off of Ziyech and Werner or Mount or what have you. Because like I said, when he was at Bayer Leverkusen, he filled in for Kevin Volland, and I believe it was the 2018-19 season, he had the fastest recorded sprint in the Bundesliga. So he has pace. He can get in behind when needed to. Yeah, he does have the pace. I think his physicality might be lacking for the Premier League. That's the ongoing notion that people always say. And that might be true because he does have a slighter frame. But he also, he scored a few goals with his head. And I know these stats because I did a video on it. But I think in the 1920 season, he scored 3-headed goals. So he's not completely useless with his head.
He's very good in the air. He's very good in the air.
Exactly. So I think that it is definitely worth testing him in that either false 9 or striker position, a striker in the 3-5-2. Let's just be lazy with it. I think that it would be worth it. And seeing his combination play, seeing him perhaps get in behind, I think that it's something that is worth. It's an avenue that's worth going down because he showed that he can finish. What did he score? 17 goals or something like that last season?
Something ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah.
Assists as well.
So he has the finishing. He's a good passer. He's decent in the air. He can get in behind. It's worth trying. Absolutely.
I agree. I mean, he's got I said it yesterday in one of my tweets that he's got the aerial ability. And most importantly, he's got the technical ability. Do you know what I mean? So he could play that sort of false 9 role, better than a genuine 9 like a Giroud or Tammy Abraham. Tammy is a bit of out of favor at the moment anyway with Thomas Tuchel. And there's some rumors about him. And once again, that's for another show. But, Kai Havertz, I think, it's definitely a situation where we should explore that particular avenue of the false 9. Good comment here from Mason Payne. Looking forward to Havertz false 9 future star with Haaland in the future. As you know, we're getting rumored with Haaland as well. Chelsea Football Club, we just go out there and just buy everyone, man. That's what we do. We just splash the money. Let's talk a little bit about Donnarumma before we get into the whole Liverpool side of things. We won't take too much about Donnarumma. Obviously, this is the news that's sort of come up today. Oh, well, it's been ongoing news, to be honest. I don't really talk too much about transfer links and whatnot. Besides Haaland looks quite probable, to be honest. I think Roma really wants Haaland. Yeah. I think Chelsea's...
Understandable. For me, Chelsea, and sorry to go down a different avenue, but people always make this comparison. But for me, I think that if I had the choice between Haaland and Mbappe, I personally would go with Haaland because I think that his ability to generate chances for himself, his ability on the ball, his passing ability, the way he gets his teammates involved, extremely underrated. And then he's a monster in the box as well. So if you guys got Haaland, that would be nuts.
I mean,
one of those signings that I think you can almost tack on as a guaranteed success. And that's me putting way too much pressure on it. I know.
You know what? Haaland is a total beast. As you said, all of those attributes are something that we're missing at the moment from our striker. So this is nothing against Mbappe. Mbappe is a phenomenal player as well. But I think Mbappe is more of an inside forward, someone who drifts in, just a bit more like Werner style of player. Obviously, a lot better than Timo Werner in terms of finishing, but more of his sort of caliber of player. And that we kind of have that in the likes of Werner and Pulisic and many players that can do that. Callum probably could do that. But yeah, no disrespect to Mbappe. I think Mbappe is an absolute generation talent as well. But Haaland is something, as you said, an instant success. Donnarumma, my man, do you see this happening at Chelsea? I mean, I know there's the ongoing talks about Kepa and Mendy. Not everyone's completely satisfied with. I think he's done a decent job. I mean, he's got a lot of clean sheets, and he's made our goalkeeping situation better. The whole Raiola thing as well with Donnarumma, and we've got history with Raiola. Chelsea don't really get along. Although Haaland is also rumored, the agent of Raiola. Do you really see this happening, man? I can't see how Donnarumma leaves AC Milan. He could possibly be a legend there, man.
I mean, for me, it seems like, and I believe when we were chatting, we said that his contract was coming up fairly soon, isn't it?
Yeah.
To me, this seems like it seems like a contract play to me personally, especially because, like you said, he could be a legend there, and also he's so young still that why wouldn't you want to stick with AC Milan in this moment where this is the best that Milan has been since he's been playing there, basically. You know, this is a Milan that has their finances, or at least getting in order, their backroom staff with Maldini and what's his name? I always forget his name. Boba. I can't remember.
Yeah. Boban or?
Yeah. Something like that. They seem to have a real vision. They're making smart signings, taking great young players like Fikayo Tomori to their squad. So
one of our players.
Exactly. So I think that right now it seems like a contract play. And I personally think that the most likely outcome is that he's going to stick with AC Milan. But let's say Chelsea were to sign Gigi Donnarumma. he's been one of AC Milan's best players this season, no doubt. He's been one of the most important players. He's already a natural leader at such a young age. His reflexes are incredible. He's getting better with the ball at his feet. You'd be signing a top tier talent.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, because in the Premier League, Chelsea do want to play from the back. You watch a lot of Serie A as well. Like you've recently done one on Lukaku. Is Gigi Donnarumma someone quite comfortable on the ball? Like he can play from the back and sort of build up?
Yeah, I would think so. I think that's a part of his game that he's improved upon. Would I put him in the, one of those keepers that you'd identify as a ball-playing keeper? I don't know
Edison. Yet. Edison from Man City. Is unbelievable.
Exactly. Ederson, Bernd Leno, those kind of guys that are great with the ball at their feet. I don't know that you would put Donnarumma in that category yet. I would say that his strength is more of like an Oblak style with the shot stopping ability, more like, which another player you guys have been linked with in the past. And so I think that just based on that, he's going to win you plenty of points there. But I mean, it's becoming so important, that aspect of keepers being able to play it out from the back, that it's something he's only going to improve at to a serviceable level. I think that he could still make it happen. He's not going to be who is it that makes hash of it all the time, like an Adrian from Liverpool or something like that.
Yeah, or even Alisson in recent times. He's made some absolute howlers in the back, but it is quite decent as well. But yeah, you're right. I mean, AC Milan are in a stage where they are on the up. They're in the mix of the title challenge this season. So, I wouldn't put it past them that they don't win it. And also from here on, they're only going to get stronger and stronger. And let's not kid around ourselves. Like they're one of the powerhouses in Europe, or they used to be a powerhouse in Europe. So I don't know how Donnarumma leaves all of that, potentially, become an absolute megastar in AC Milan. I don't know how much of that he can be at Chelsea. I think he'll be a big player, a superstar, but I don't know if he can ever be the mega star in Chelsea as opposed to in AC Milan. So that's a little bit about that. So overall, you think this is more of a contract play from Raiola, yeah?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, he's known for that. And it's funny that you said that you guys don't really get along with Raiola, and it's got me thinking, what clubs do get along with Mino Raiola? Which clubs love Mino Raiola? I'm sure that there's some out there that chat would be able to highlight for us, but it's not coming to mind right away. But I think that it's another contract play for Mino Raiola. You always see this kind of thing from all of the big stars and their agents. They get talking around this time of year. Like you said, probably would be a legend if he was to stick around at AC Milan and bring some of the glory back to that club. Yeah. And this might be an unfair comment, but I feel like you see it more often that Italian players like to stick with it. You see, like, there's a lot of one club Italian players, and
Francesco
Donnarumma, Maldini. It does feel like Donnarumma could be another one of those. And I think that the way things transpired last time, when the same sort of situation came out where it said that he was going to be leaving AC Milan and it was another contract play in the end, or he went back on what he had said or something like that. I can't remember. Yeah. But with how he was treated, with the way the Milan fan base really treated him after that, and how vicious they were with him, I think that hurt him deeply, and I think that he doesn't want to really go down that road again. So I think that I feel like he might be staying there for a while. No,
for sure. Live chat has not disappointed you, Adrian. Dita, my man, thank you. Good evening, guys. Juventus loves Mino Raiola. So
there you go.
So there you go. There's someone there that likes Mino Raiola. My man, let's talk about Liverpool now. I know we're in a bit of a time constraints. We've got Liverpool coming up next. This is not going to be a preview. I've got a preview set up for tomorrow. But just want to get your thoughts as once again, someone outside of Chelsea. The whole clash between Thomas Tuchel and Jurgen Klopp. I feel like this is shaping up to be a tactical battle. Both of them, they think very deep. But we've already seen Thomas Tuchel, how much he thinks in-game, hooking players off at halftime, changing, the style formations as well. We've changed. We've gone with 4 at the back against Barnsley just to counter their pressing. But Liverpool, they've had a strange season. Are you surprised by their season? I really thought they were going to kick on this season and create that legacy and really just drift away from Man City. But the way Man City has come back this season, I think Ruben Diaz. How much do you miss Ruben Diaz?
A lot. Safe to say a lot. the trade-off of getting Ruben Diaz away from us for Otamendi was just heartbreaking to see. But I mean,
someone did a
just,
bad
just
deal
a side
there.
note.
Someone
Yeah,
did
I
a
know.
bad deal there.
Yeah, just a side note. Otamendi, I have to give him credit, has improved a ton. At the beginning of his tenure with Benfica, it was red cards, it was own goals, it was him playing through balls to our opponent's strikers. It was just horrible. It was really, really bad. But since then, he's shown passion, he's shown fight, he's done well technically, so he has improved a lot, and I do have to give him credit there. But yeah, the way that City have turned things around, the massive impact that Ruben Dias has had, the way that John Stones has revived his career alongside Ruben Dias, Ederson is looking back to his best again. I mean, it's João Cancelo is playing the most confusing position in the league. I have no idea what he's doing out there.
I don't think anyone
it's been amazing.
does.
No one.
Absolutely. But so, yeah, the whole Liverpool, Tuchel and Jurgen Klopp. Are you surprised with Liverpool's season this season?
I am surprised in a sense that I thought that they were going to win it back to back. But when you look at how they had 3 senior center backs at the beginning of the season, and all of them were injured by November or something like that, and they're forced to play their best midfielders or some of their best midfielders as center backs, and that takes away from the midfield. So now you have a weakness there and a weakness in defense. And then that leaves less support for the attack. So the attackers aren't getting the service that they used to get. And so that starts to falter. I mean, it makes sense. When you break it down like that, it makes sense that they are sort of faltering. Not to mention all the injuries in the attack as well, like Diogo Jota, losing him so early. He was such a revelation when he first got there. So I think that if Jurgen Klopp was to win this season, if he was able to, defend the title, it would have probably been one of his best achievements as a manager, just because of how against it he would have been, I think. Yeah,
no, you're right, man. I mean, the base of the team starts from the defense. When you got Van Dijk, that's out straight away. And honestly, Pickford did an absolute dirty on Van Dijk. That was horrendous tackle. And then they had Matip out, and then obviously, as you said, midfielders had to come in, and some of the midfielders got injured as well. They came in the centre backs, and they got injured as well. So when you've got all of that sort of not happening up front, they've had Mane injured here and there, Salah injured as well. Firmino has been in and out. So, it's been a very indifferent season, 100%. I mean, there's some rumors about recently how Jurgen Klopp, Liverpool are thinking about getting rid of him. I mean, surely that would be a madness if they get rid of Jurgen Klopp. I mean, he'd have to go down as one of the most successful managers for them in recent times.
Yeah, I think so. And I think just the way he sort of changed the culture at the club, like they were in bona fide banter years for a while. And Brendan Rodgers did well to sort of bring them close to getting out of that. They had that title run. But the turnaround and sort of the unification of the fans and the club that Jurgen Klopp was able to pull off, winning the Champions League, winning the league for the first time in 30 years. I mean, these are no small feats for any manager. And so one season goes poorly because of these outrageous injuries that they're having, because of congested schedule due to the pandemic, etc. Like there's so many things against them at the moment that to sack him like that would be, I would think, one of the most shocking and unjust sackings that you could think of.
Absolutely. That wouldn't even make sense unless Jurgen Klopp sort of decides himself that he's had enough and he wants to try something different. But I can't really see how he does that. I mean, I think for him, what's the next move? Do you know what I mean? Like Real Madrid or so on and so forth. I don't think any of those are available at the moment. Good commentary from Thompson Jones. The Tuchel-Klopp rivalry has gone on for years. Tuchel was Klopp's successor at Mainz and Dortmund. Let's talk a little bit about that now. Chelsea, Adrian, just can't be clinical up front. We're solid at the back, just can't be clinical up front. And Liverpool, they seem to be losing quite a lot of games. So how do you see these two sort of clashing together? What's your expectation? What's your prediction for this particular match? It's at Anfield, by the way, and Anfield, Liverpool have been losing quite a lot this season.
Yeah, they've certainly lost that. But mind you, the whole notion of home field advantage doesn't really seem to apply this season anymore. No. It's been wild in that regard. That's why we have such unpredictable performances, like West Ham and Aston Villa, etc. But I think that, it's funny. I was doing some reading before this, and I read a quote from Klopp that he said back in January, "Unfortunately, Thomas Tuchel is a great manager," or something like that. And I think that Tuchel has proven that, as we know. You guys haven't lost under him yet, have you?
No losses.
No, not yet. I mean, you're barely
three
conceding.
draws and I think 5 wins, 6 wins, something like that.
Yeah, barely conceding goals. Very tight defensively, which is
2
massive.
goals. I think 2 goals we've conceded.
Yeah. Like you said, maybe the offense could be, a little bit more clinical. But I think that if I was to put money on this match, it would be on Chelsea taking a win. I just think that Liverpool is too. I just think that Liverpool is too inconsistent. I think that their defense is too much of a wild card. And now even with Alisson, I don't know if he'll be back for this match. Unfortunately, his father passing away, of course. Yeah. But with Adrian in goal, there's always a chance, that there's going to be some sort of error. I think prior to their last match against Sheffield, he had played 2 Premier League matches and conceded 9 goals or something like that.
Wow.
Like just insane. So there's always going to be a chance there. The center back position has basically become a meme at Liverpool at this point. Like 18 or 19 different pairings that they've had back there, just running through the different defenders. They're having to buy guys from Preston or wherever it was, bringing in that Schalke player on loan. I just can't see it. And I think that, Liverpool are always sort of, like I said, I'm a patient fan. I'm always a believer of maybe the next match is the one that gets you out of your slump. But it's felt like that for too long with their attackers. It's felt like that for too long with Roberto Firmino, who on his day, he's become an on his day player, unfortunately. Yeah. On his day, he can be lethal with his finishing. He can be getting all of the players around him involved really well. His distribution is excellent. He's one of the sauciest players in the league. But we just haven't seen that enough, We haven't seen that enough from him. Mane has been misfiring for a while. Salah has been probably the most consistent, but even so, he's not the Salah from the 17-18 season. So the attack is faltering. The defense is sort of there for the taking. And I think that with how solid you guys have been at the back, that alone is enough to see you through. And I think that maybe this is the time where Ziyech finally steps up if he is to play again. And Giroud didn't pick up an injury in the last game, did he?
No, he didn't.
No, he's fine
as well.
Yeah. So I think that I could see Giroud getting one. I think it's going to be a low scoring game, like a 2-1. But I could see Giroud getting one, and maybe who else? Maybe
Mason Mount.
I think that that's the most likely one is Mason Mount, but I'm going to go with a Ziyech. I'm going to go all in. I'm going to really lean into the Ziyech propaganda and try and force it to happen for you.
You know what? Look, you put up a good point. Like defensively, we've been solid, so we should be able to handle their front 3, knowing that they're not that strong in the back and in midfield. So hopefully they're not going to be as potent in building up as they have been. So we should be able to cover that. And I'm hoping that the double pivot of Kovacic and Jorginho sort of comes back to control more of the game. My only worry is that we're not clinical up front. And I just hope that I think we will get opportunities, as you said, with their makeshift centre-backs that they're probably going to have, that we do put away our chances. I just hope Timo Werner is one that I'm penciling him down, that it would be great if he scores and just runs straight up to Klopp and just claps in his face. He's one player that Klopp wanted, so that would be very, very good. But my man, I don't know. I'm thinking it may be a draw because I just can't see how Liverpool just takes another loss here. I'd love a win, honestly. I'd love a win. And I love the fact that you're backing a win. I think the Chelsea fan base is a bit conservative here, and we're sort of a bit worried that you don't know what you can expect from Liverpool. So, but yeah, it'd be good if we get a win.
I will say, sorry to cut you off, but I will say that I am infamous for being poor at predicting. So I don't know if I've jinxed it. I don't know if you should just say the opposite of what I said, but take it with an absolutely tiny grain of sand. It's not at all to be trusted from me.
I'm not too good with predictions either. I've got Sethi, Adrian. I love this guy. There you go. A lot of love from Adrian. Hey. I had one of them just walk in and said, Adrian from Rabona TV has come in and he's subscribed to me. So that's fantastic. Kudos to you, my man, for getting me that. But yeah,
shout out Seth.
Shout out Seth. Any final thoughts before we go?
No, I mean, hey, look, I think that I think that you're in a position now where you can be very, very optimistic for the rest of the season. You have a manager that is clearly quite talented, took PSG to their first ever Champions League final. I mean, I don't know how well the Champions League run will go. We'll see. You're certainly in a great position. But the fact that you're so close to the Champions League positions in the league, I think, is the more important thing. And I'm really excited to see where Chelsea goes in the future, because the squad it's not a talent issue at all.
No.
Maybe, like you said, in the defense, you could use another sort of trusted center back, but it's not a talent issue at all, especially going forward. And with this manager next season, I'm certainly, Chelsea's one of those teams that's one to watch. You know, with all of the acquisitions they made last summer, they were already a very exciting team for a neutral. And now with Thomas Tuchel at the helm, what he's achieved already with the side, it's one of the teams I'll be keeping my eye on for sure, even closer.
Brilliant, brilliant. I can't wait to see some videos from you. Guys, thank you so much for joining for this particular show. Thank you to Adrian from Rabona TV. All the information's in the description right now. I'm pretty sure you've subscribed to him. The man's nearly at 200K. So please get him to 200K. And honestly, his videos are phenomenal. So guys, check in on that. Until next time, everyone. See ya.
Bye.